I need to ask you something, and I want you to really sit with this for a second before you answer. What if everything you've been taught about attracting women, everything you've absorbed from movies, from social media, from locker room talk, from every piece of dating advice that's been shoved in your face since you were 15 years old, what if all of it was just wrong? And I don't mean a little off, I mean fundamentally, structurally, completely wrong. Most guys walk through life believing that attraction is about looks, or money, or having the right car, the right job title, the right haircut, the perfect clever thing to say when you walk up to a woman at a bar. And honestly, I get it. Those are the things you're shown over and over again. In movies, the guy gets the girl because he's handsome and rich. In ads, the guy wearing the expensive cologne suddenly has women falling all over him. Every dating app in the world has trained your brain to think it's all about how you look in your photos. So of course that's where your mind goes. When you think about attraction, it's what you've been conditioned to believe. But here's what I know. As a woman, having spent years working with men on exactly this, attraction doesn't start with any of those things. Not really. It starts here, in the brain. Before a woman is even consciously aware of what she's feeling, her brain has already been processing dozens of signals you're sending out. Signals in how you hold eye contact, signals in your energy, signals in how available you are, how you respond to what she says, how you balance making her feel safe and making her feel excited. And the truth is, most guys have no idea these signals even exist. That's actually really good news though, because it means attraction isn't some random lottery that some guys win and others lose. It's not about being born with the right face or inheriting the right bank account. It's something you can learn. There are specific, well-documented psychological triggers that create genuine attraction in a woman's brain. And today, I'm going to walk you through 5 of them. Now, before we dive in, I want to be really upfront about something. These are not manipulation tactics. I'm not going to teach you how to trick anyone into liking you. That doesn't work, and even if it did, it wouldn't last. What I'm going to share with you is based in real psychology and real neuroscience, and what these principles do is help you create the right conditions for attraction to happen naturally. See, women already want to feel attracted. We're wired for connection. We're wired to notice certain qualities in men. You're not tricking anyone by learning what those qualities are. You're just learning how to give our brains what they're already looking for. That's not manipulation. That's understanding, and that distinction matters. All right, let me walk you through these 5 things, and I promise you, by the end of this video, you're going to see every conversation with a woman completely differently. Number 1, the eye contact secret. I want to start with something that seems so basic, so simple, that most guys completely overlook it. Eye contact. And I already know what just happened in your head. You thought, yeah, eye contact shows confidence. I've heard this a million times. Tell me something I don't know. But that's not what I'm talking about. There's actually a secret hidden inside eye contact that almost nobody knows, and it has to do with which eye you're looking at. Here's a quick lesson in how the brain works. Your brain is divided into 2 hemispheres. The left hemisphere processes emotions, empathy, connection, intimacy, and trust. It's the part of your brain that makes you feel close to someone, that creates that warm sense of safety and understanding. The right hemisphere handles logic, analysis, confidence, dominance, and, this is important, sexual tension and playfulness. It's the part of your brain that creates that charged, exciting, slightly edgy energy. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. When you look into someone's left eye, you're actually engaging the emotional side of their brain. And when you look into their right eye, you're hitting the confident, playful, slightly dominant side. Most people have no idea this is happening. They just know that eye contact with some people feels warm and intimate, while eye contact with others feels electric and intense. But the difference often comes down to which eye the other person is focusing on. So let me tell you exactly how to use this. When you first meet a woman, whether it's a date, a party, a coffee shop, whatever the situation, and you want to build connection, you want her to feel comfortable and safe around you. You want her to think, this guy is genuine. I can trust him. Focus on her left eye. Don't overthink it. Just let your gaze settle naturally on her left eye during conversation. Her brain picks up on this subconsciously and starts creating feelings of trust, intimacy, and emotional safety. She won't know why she feels so comfortable around you. She just will. Then, once the conversation has warmed up and you're moving into flirting territory, once there's laughter, once there's that spark of back and forth, shift your focus to her right eye. That shift changes the entire energy. It creates a bolder, more confident, slightly charged feeling. She'll feel it. She might not be able to name it, but there's suddenly something different about the way you're looking at her, and it pulls her attention in a way that's almost magnetic. And if you want to really master this, the advanced move is to alternate between both eyes naturally as the conversation flows. Not robotically, not like you're ping-ponging back and forth. Just let your gaze shift organically. When the conversation gets deeper and more personal, drift toward her left eye. When you're being playful or teasing, shift to her right. This creates a dynamic, slightly unpredictable energy that keeps her just a little bit off balance in the best possible way. She feels safe with you, but she also feels that pull, that excitement, that something about this guy quality that she can't quite put her finger on. I know this sounds incredibly subtle, and it is subtle. That's exactly the point. Women are biologically wired to pick up on microsignals. We notice things that most guys don't even realize they're broadcasting. The tilt of your head, the timing of your smile, the way your gaze moves. We register all of it, often without even being consciously aware we're doing it, and we feel the difference between someone who's just staring at us and someone who's connecting with us through their eyes. So next time you're talking to a woman, try this. Focus on one eye, then the other, and notice what happens to the conversation. I guarantee you'll feel the shift. Number 2, the mirror neurons hack. Okay, this one is backed by straight up neuroscience, and once you truly understand what I'm about to tell you, you will never walk into a date or any interaction with a woman the same way again. This one changed everything for the men I work with because it's so simple and yet so profoundly powerful. Your brain contains something called mirror neurons. These are specialized brain cells whose entire job is to copy the emotional and physical state of the person you're interacting with. They're the reason yawning is contagious. You see someone yawn and your brain literally fires the same neural pattern as if you were yawning yourself. And before you know it, your mouth is open too. They're the reason that when someone gives you a genuine, warm smile, you can't help but smile back. Your brain doesn't ask permission. It just mirrors. Mirror neurons are one of the most powerful social mechanisms in the human brain. They're how we develop empathy as children. They're how we learn to read emotions. And in the context of dating and attraction, they're the reason your energy matters more than your words. Think about what this really means on a date. Whatever emotional state you bring into that interaction, she is going to start mirroring. Her brain literally cannot help it. If you walk in calm, comfortable, genuinely at ease with yourself and enjoying the moment, her brain starts to feel calm, comfortable, and at ease too. If you bring playful, fun energy, the kind where you're cracking jokes, being spontaneous, not taking everything so seriously, she mirrors that playfulness. She starts laughing more, opening up more, being more herself. If you show up with a little bit of mystery, a little bit of intrigue, like there's more to you than what's on the surface, her brain registers that and thinks, wait, there's something about this guy. I want to know more. Now let me show you the flip side, because this is where most guys are unknowingly sabotaging themselves. Think about the average guy going on a first date. He's nervous. He's trying really hard to make a good impression. He's rehearsing things to say in his head. He's watching her face for every micro reaction, desperately trying to figure out if she likes him. He's seeking approval with every joke, every compliment, every topic he brings up. What energy is he broadcasting? Anxiety, insecurity, neediness. And what does she mirror? Exactly that. She starts feeling uncomfortable, on edge, like something is off about this interaction. She can't quite name it, but the vibe feels wrong. And most of the time, she'll chalk it up to, there just wasn't a connection, or I wasn't feeling it. But the truth is, she was mirroring his nervousness. His energy created her experience. I've seen this happen hundreds of times. A guy will come to me and say, I don't understand. The conversation went fine. We had things in common, but she just seemed distant. And 9 times out of 10, when I dig into what happened, the answer is that he showed up in a state of low-grade anxiety, and she absorbed every bit of it. So here's what you do instead. You don't put on a performance. You don't try to fake being confident. You genuinely cultivate the state you want her to end up in before you even walk through the door. If you want her to feel relaxed and open, you need to actually be relaxed and open. If you want her to feel playful and flirty, you need to actually feel playful and flirty. Your state has to be real because mirror neurons don't respond to acting. They respond to genuine emotional signals. Practically, this means getting yourself into the right headspace before a date. Listen to music that puts you in a good mood. Call a friend who makes you laugh. Remind yourself that this date isn't a job interview. It's 2 people hanging out to see if they enjoy each other's company. The outcome doesn't define your worth. You're there to have a good time, and if she's cool, great. If not, that's fine too. When you genuinely arrive in that energy, she feels it immediately. And here's a subtle but powerful move. Don't give everything away in the first 20 minutes. Don't lay out your entire life story, every achievement, every funny thing that's ever happened to you. Leave some mystery. Be a little bit of an open question. When you hold something back, not because you're being evasive, but because you're genuinely more interested in the conversation than in performing your highlight reel, she senses it. Her curiosity kicks in. And curiosity is one of the most powerful precursors to attraction that exists. Your energy sets the tone for everything that happens in that interaction. She is not going to feel something you're not feeling first. So decide what you want the experience to be and then be that genuinely, not performatively. Number 3, the psychological reactance principle. This one has a fancy name, but the concept is something you've experienced your entire life, probably without realizing there was an actual scientific theory behind it. It's called reactance theory, and it was developed by psychologist Jack Bream back in the 1960s. The basic idea is this: when people feel like their freedom to have something is being restricted or threatened, they immediately want that thing more. It's why the moment someone tells you that you can't have something, you suddenly need it. It's why limited edition products sell out in minutes. It's why forbidden things feel more exciting. Your brain is wired to desire what feels scarce or just out of reach. Now, here's how this principle shows up in dating, and I guarantee this will explain a lot of patterns you've seen in your own life, but couldn't quite make sense of. Think about the guy who is always available. He texts back within seconds, every single time. If she asks to hang out, he cancels whatever he had going on. He rearranges his entire schedule around her. He's always the first one to reach out, always the first one to suggest plans, always the one keeping the conversation going. On the surface, this seems like he's being a great, attentive potential partner. He's showing her she matters. But what's actually happening psychologically? He's creating zero reactance. There's no restriction, no scarcity, no sense that his time and attention are limited resources. She never has to wonder about him because the answer is always the same. He's available. He's there, he's waiting. And as counterintuitive as this sounds, that certainty kills attraction. Not because women are cruel or because they don't appreciate effort, but because the human brain simply doesn't assign high value to things it can access effortlessly at any time. That's not a dating thing, that's a human psychology thing. Now think about the guy who has his own life. He's got his own plans on Saturday night. Maybe he's playing basketball with his friends. Maybe he's working on a project he's passionate about. Maybe he's at a concert he bought tickets for weeks ago. When she texts him, he responds, but not always immediately because he's genuinely busy doing things that matter to him. When she suggests hanging out, sometimes he's free and sometimes he's not. Not because he's playing a game, but because he has a life that exists independently of her. That guy triggers reactance. She starts noticing when she hasn't heard from him. She finds herself checking her phone. She wonders what he's doing, who he's with. His attention, when she does get it, feels valuable because it's clearly not something he gives to just anyone. It's not unlimited, and that scarcity makes her brain assign it higher worth. I need to be really clear about something here because I've talked about this topic many times and I always get comments from guys who take it to an unhealthy extreme. This is not about playing games. It's not about strategically waiting 3 hours before texting back. It's not about being intentionally cold or withholding or making someone feel bad to create attraction. That's manipulation, and it doesn't lead anywhere good. What this is actually about is having genuine boundaries and a genuine life that you're excited about. When you have real hobbies, real friendships, real goals, real things you're working on, your unavailability isn't manufactured, it's natural. And natural unavailability creates healthy psychological tension. Manufactured unavailability creates confusion and resentment. Women can feel the difference between a man who's busy because his life is full and a man who's busy because he's playing a stupid game. Trust me on that. So here's what this looks like in practice. Don't always be the first one to text. Sometimes let her initiate. Don't cancel your plans every time she's available. Keep the commitment you made to yourself and your friends. If she asks what you're doing this weekend and you already have plans, tell her about them. Be enthusiastic about your own life. Say something like, I'm actually going hiking with some buddies Saturday, but Sunday could work. That one sentence communicates so much. It says you have a life. It says your time is valuable. It says you're interested in seeing her, but not desperate to see her. And it naturally triggers that reactance response where she thinks, okay, I need to be the one to lock in time with this guy. Show her you're interested. Absolutely show her. But show interest as a person who has a full, exciting, independent life, not as someone whose entire existence revolves around whether or not she texts back. Number 4, the familiarity-novelty balance. This is honestly one of my favorite things to teach because it explains so much about attraction that seems contradictory on the surface. It explains why some guys who are genuinely great, kind, interesting, accomplished, good-looking even, just never seem to escape the friend zone. And it explains why other guys who are maybe not as objectively impressive somehow have this magnetic quality that women can't resist. The answer lies in a balance that most men have never even thought about. Here's what's going on beneath the surface. When a woman's brain is evaluating someone as a potential romantic interest, and this happens largely on a subconscious level, there are 2 competing needs running simultaneously. One part of her brain is scanning for safety. Is this person familiar? Can I trust them? Do they understand me? Are they like me in ways that matter? This is the familiarity need. The other part of her brain is scanning for excitement. Is this person interesting? Is there something different about them? Do they surprise me? Is there a reason to pay attention? This is the novelty need. Both of these needs are deeply rooted in evolution. The familiarity need exists because historically, people who were similar to you from your tribe, sharing your values, understanding your world, were safe. The novelty need exists because new genetic material, new ideas, new experiences were valuable for survival and growth. Your brain wants both. And in the context of attraction, you need to satisfy both. Here's where most guys go wrong. They lean way too hard into one side or the other. The first type is the all-familiarity guy. He's the one who finds common ground immediately and then just stays there. Oh, you like The Office? I love The Office. We should watch The Office together. He agrees with everything she says. He mirrors her opinions perfectly. He's relatable, he's comfortable, he's safe, and she genuinely likes him as a friend. Because here's the problem. When there's nothing but familiarity, there's no spark. Her safety need is fully met, but her excitement need is starving. She feels comfortable around him the way she feels comfortable in her favorite sweatpants. No charge, no pull, no, I need to see him again. The second type is the all-novelty guy. He's unpredictable, he's intense, he's always doing something unexpected. He might be charismatic in short bursts, but there's no consistency. She can't get a read on him. One day he's charming, the next he's distant. He says things that are surprising, but also kind of unsettling. He keeps her guessing, but not in a fun way, in a, is this person stable way. Her excitement need gets some stimulation, but her safety need is screaming a warning. And eventually she pulls back, not because he's boring, but because she can't trust him. The magic, and I really do mean magic, because when you get this right, it feels almost supernatural in how well it works, is in the balance, and specifically, it's in the sequence. Start with familiarity. This is your foundation. When you first meet someone, your number one job is to make her feel safe and understood. Find the genuine common ground. Bond over the shared taste in music, the similar sense of humor, the fact that you both think pineapple on pizza is either amazing or an abomination. Share a perspective that shows you see the world in a similar way. Let her brain register that crucial signal. He's like me. He gets me. I can let my guard down here. This doesn't mean being fake or agreeing with everything she says. It means being genuinely curious about her and finding the places where your experiences and values actually overlap. Every human has common ground with every other human. You just have to find it. Once that foundation of familiarity is established, once she feels comfortable, once the conversation is flowing naturally, that's when you inject novelty. And this is where the magic happens. Mention something she didn't see coming. Tell her about an unusual hobby. Maybe you're learning to salsa dance, maybe you collect vintage vinyl records, maybe you spent last summer volunteering in a completely different country. Or it doesn't even have to be that dramatic. Just take the conversation in an unexpected direction. If you've been agreeing on something, add a twist. A different perspective she hadn't considered. A playful challenge to an assumption she just made. Be slightly unpredictable in how you respond to what she says. The effect this creates is incredibly powerful. Her brain was starting to categorize you. Okay, I've got this guy figured out. He's nice, he's relatable, he's safe. And then you do or say something that breaks that pattern, and suddenly her brain goes, wait, hold on. I thought I had him figured out. I don't. There's more here. I need to find out what it is. That uncertainty, that gap between what she expected and what she got, creates genuine intrigue. And intrigue is the feeling that makes a woman think about you when you're not around. It's the, I cannot stop thinking about this guy state that every man wants to create. Let me give you a concrete example. You're on a first date. You're talking about travel. You find out she loves Italy. The food, the culture, the romance of it all. You bond over that. You share a story about a trip you took or a restaurant you love. Familiarity. She feels connected to you. Then, casually, you mention that the most interesting trip you've ever taken was to Mongolia, where you spent 2 weeks with a nomadic family. Or you say something like, I love Italy, but honestly the best meal I ever had was at a street stall in Vietnam at 3 a.m. That's novelty. It's unexpected. It opens a door she didn't know was there. And now she's leaning in, asking questions, wanting to know more. The key is the order. Safety first, excitement second. You can't inject novelty before she feels safe, because it'll just feel chaotic. But once that safety is established, novelty becomes the spark that ignites attraction. Safe enough to trust, interesting enough to chase. Number 5, the selective validation technique. All right, this is the last one, and honestly, this might be the most counterintuitive thing I've talked about today. It might also be the most powerful, because this one changes the entire dynamic of how a woman relates to you, and I mean completely flips it on its head. Let me describe a pattern I see constantly. A guy meets a woman he's attracted to, and he immediately goes into what I call cheerleader mode. Everything she says gets a compliment. Everything she does gets approval. Oh, wow, that's amazing. You're so smart. You're literally the funniest person I've ever met. She mentions she likes cooking. That's so attractive. She says she's into hiking. No way. I love a girl who's outdoorsy. She exists. You're perfect. And I understand the impulse behind this. Genuinely, I do. He likes her. He wants her to know he likes her. And he thinks the way to do that is to make her feel as good as possible by validating everything about her. It feels like the generous, kind, obvious thing to do. But here's the problem. And this is where basic economics meets human psychology. When you validate everything, your validation becomes worthless. Think of it like currency. If a government prints infinite money, every individual bill becomes worth less and less until it's practically meaningless. The same thing happens with your approval. If every single thing she says gets an enthusiastic, "That's amazing," then none of those compliments carry any real weight. She can't tell the difference between what genuinely impressed you and what you were just reflexively praising. Your words stop meaning anything because they're clearly not selective. They're just automatic. But here's what happens when you flip this. When you're genuinely engaged and interested in someone, but you only validate specific things that actually stand out to you, things she chose rather than things she was born with, things that demonstrate who she is as a person, suddenly your approval means something. It's scarce, it's selective, and that means when she does get a compliment from you, it hits differently. She remembers it. She thinks about it later. And this is the crucial part. She starts wanting more of it. Let me give you 3 specific ways to put this into practice because I don't want this to stay theoretical. First, compliment what someone chooses, not what they were born with. This is a huge distinction that most guys miss entirely. You're really pretty is a compliment, sure, but it's about something she had no control over. She didn't choose her face. It's also a compliment she's probably heard 1,000 times from 1,000 different guys. It doesn't tell her anything about how you see her as a person. It just tells her you have eyes. But you have really great taste in music. That's different. I love how passionate you get when you talk about your work. That's different. The way you just described that trip made me feel like I was there. That's very different. Those compliments tell her you're paying attention to who she is, not just what she looks like. They validate her choices, her personality, her character, and they make her feel seen in a way that a generic "you're beautiful" never will. Second, let your interest be earned rather than given away automatically. This doesn't mean being rude or cold. It means being genuinely curious rather than being a cheerleader. When she tells you about something she's into, ask a real follow-up question instead of just going, "That's so cool." Dig deeper. Show that your attention has to be genuinely captured, not that it's just sitting there waiting for anything she says. When she realizes that you don't just automatically approve of everything, that your engagement is real and discerning, she'll actually try harder to earn that engagement. And that dynamic is incredibly attractive to both people because it creates a real exchange instead of a one-sided performance. Third, and this is my favorite one, try being playfully challenging instead of automatically agreeing with everything. Let me give you a specific example because this is where the rubber meets the road. She says, "I'm actually a really good cook." Now, the cheerleader response, the one most guys default to, is, "Oh, wow, that's amazing. I love a woman who can cook." It's positive, it's enthusiastic, and it's completely forgettable. She's heard some version of that from every guy she's ever told about her cooking. Here's what you say instead with a little smile. "Oh yeah? Prove it. What's your signature dish? Feel the difference? You didn't insult her. You didn't dismiss her. You showed interest. But you showed it with a challenge rather than automatic approval. You communicated in one sentence that your approval isn't free. It has to be earned. And that little challenge does something remarkable. It makes her want to prove herself to you. She leans in. She starts describing her cooking with more enthusiasm, more detail. She's now invested in impressing you instead of the other way around. That's a complete flip in the dynamic of the interaction. Instead of you trying to win her over with compliments, she's trying to win your approval through genuine engagement. And here's the thing, that doesn't just feel good for you. It feels good for her too, because we genuinely value things we work for more than things that are handed to us. That's not a dating principle. That's a fundamental law of human psychology. The approval that's hardest to get is the approval that means the most when you finally earn it. I want to be clear, this isn't about being harsh or critical or withholding all positive feedback. It's about being discerning. It's about letting your compliments mean something because they're genuine reactions to things that genuinely impress you. When you tell a woman, I love that about you, and she knows you don't say that to everyone about everything, it lands in a completely different way. It sticks. She remembers it, and she wants to keep earning more. Your approval is currency. Treat it that way. Don't inflate it into meaninglessness by giving it away to everyone for everything. Be generous with your attention, your curiosity, your presence, but make your validation something worth earning. So those are the 5. Eye contact, mirror neurons, reactance, the familiarity novelty balance, and selective validation. 5 psychological principles that have absolutely nothing to do with your looks, your bank account, your job title, or how good your opening line is. These work because they're based on how the human brain actually processes attraction. Not the fantasy version of attraction that movies and pickup artists sell you, but the real, neurological, deeply wired version. And I want to leave you with something important because I think it ties all 5 of these together. The goal of everything I just shared with you is not to become some master manipulator who uses psychological tricks on unsuspecting women. That's not what this is. The goal is to become more aware of the signals you're already sending and to start sending better ones, more intentional ones, ones that actually reflect who you are at your best. Every single one of these 5 things ultimately comes down to the same core idea. Be someone worth being attracted to,